My 29 male wife, 27 female, has been working from home the past few months and has started having her high school ex over a lot. I told her this is unacceptable. Am I to the wrong for this? Hello, and welcome to everyone. I recognize that the title may be confusing if you don't know what I'm talking about, so please bear with me as I explain. As a result, my wife has worked from home since the beginning of COVID. Due to the fact that my employer would never permit us to do so, I was forced to drive to work every day. She has a friend with whom she socializes on a regular basis. He's been invited to hang out with the two of us in the past as well. He's courteous, pleasant to be around, and generally well behaved. This hasn't been a problem for me so far. When my wife and I started dating, she told me that she had dated him in high school. According to her, they were in a relationship throughout their freshman and sophomore years. They never had relations, but they did have a good time. It was during their senior year that they began to rekindle their friendship. He was in a relationship with a girlfriend at the time, who was also seeing someone else. She maintains that when they divorced, there was no longer any romantic attraction between the two of them. My wife said that she would be able to work from home once COVID was up and running. I was glad and thrilled for her since I knew it would be easier and even save her money on gas if she went this route. She said that her friend would be able to work from home as well, and that they may meet up sometimes to look over their work and provide assistance to one another. They both work in a similar field. When I returned home one day, he was waiting for me. Since my wife had told me of the situation, I didn't give it much thought. They were both in front of computers and seemed to be working quite hard. For a time, things were like this. After a few weeks, I'd return home to find them casually hanging around and having a good time with each other. They'd be playing a game at one point, drinking at another, and eating at yet another point throughout the evening. This was beginning to seem bizarre to me. He seemed to be getting more attention than I was, and she appeared to be having a more enjoyable time with him than I was having with him. Finally, when I returned home one day, it was the last straw. While they were watching television, they were both seated on the couch, with her head resting on his lap. Prior to conversing with her, I waited until he had left the room. I was enraged. I shouted at her, telling her that their acts were wrong and that there was no need for her to be sleeping with a buddy like that. I said how I thought she was paying more attention to him than her spouse and that they looked to be having more fun together than we do. Not to mention that they had previously dated and messed about. She became enraged and said that I had no right to tell her that she could no longer be near someone. She was furious that I implied she was cheating on me with him and vowed she was not and would not do so. She said that all they were doing was resting, and that it was perfectly okay for her to rest her head on his lap. He hasn't been at home the previous 2 days when I arrived home. She claims she hasn't seen him since our conversation. I apologized for being so enraged. She doesn't appear to have accepted my apologies since she has been quite quiet around me ever since. What can I do to improve things? Is she deceiving you? How do I approach the situation between her and this friend? Update. My wife has been spending time at our residence with an old high school ex. Since COVID's inception, he had been visiting her and working from home with her. At first, I didn't think much of it, since they were merely assisting one another with their job. Then they began to hang out and do other things. I'd had enough when I saw her lying down with her head on his lap. I told her he couldn't come over anymore. She was enraged and took offense, but she consented. The majority of the folks here agreed with me that her actions were suspicious. I was informed that he may still come over throughout the day and leave before I arrived. I ended up purchasing a camera that I could set up and conceal while at work. I placed one in the living room and another in the bedroom. Nothing out of the ordinary occurred on the first day they were put up. It occurred on the second day. The ex arrived. They were simply working at first, but then he became somewhat tactile with her. It proceeded to the point that they required going to our bedroom and sleeping together. I was taken aback. I had no idea what to do. As soon as I saw my wife again, I asked her whether she was still seeing him. She flatly rejected it. I informed her that I had cameras put throughout the home. Her expression drastically shifted at that point. She was aware of what I had seen. She burst into tears right away. I told her she had to leave the home. She attempted to apologize and explain herself, but I was having none of it. We've only spoken to each other once since then. I informed her that I couldn't see anything other than a divorce happening. She said that she does not want that and requested if I would attend to couples therapy once before making that final choice. I agreed, if grudgingly. I'm not expecting it to succeed, and I'm mostly doing it to amuse her. As I type this, I'm still searching for and attempting to contact divorce counsel. Story 2. My dad is a cheater, yet he cheated once, but his mindset is that of a cheater. I hope it helps me recognize it in the future. My ex left me for his AP 7 months ago. I had no idea what was going to happen to me, and I was devastated. It's been a process of mending as well as learning from my errors and never giving myself to a possible cheater. My father cheated on my mother when I was 7 years old. They split, but he returned 2 years later, and my mother accepted him back. He never cheated again, as far as we know, but I realized he still has the attitude, and all it takes is a young dumb who is desperate enough to pursue him, and he would do it again. My father is loyal due of a lack of alternatives. My ex was as well, and I mistaken it for faithfulness. It just took one desperate female for him to go. I was provoked by a date I went on with an AP. I understood that the justifications he provided me for doing so were the same nonsense justifications my ex gave me. This morning, I addressed it with my father, and he truly demonstrated to me that cheats have a specific fundamental thinking. So I believe I have found the trick to tracking them down, even if they have never cheated before. This is the starting point. Emotions are reality, and you should never deny them. Being in love is the sanctification of all your wrongdoing. These are the folks that tell you that if you love someone else, you leave rather than cheat. This seems to be correct. However, there is a huge flaw in this reasoning. What about the current relationship? Wasn't it horrible enough that you had to go without a backup? So it's okay to just upgrade. It demonstrates a kind of selfishness. The hearth wants what it wants, regardless of how many people are killed in order for me to obtain what I want. The fact of long-term partnerships is that you will develop emotions for other people. There are plenty of gorgeous individuals out there who would be interested in you. You need to put a stop to such sentiments. In my instance, I realized that these sentiments were fleeting. I saw myself shattering my husband's heart, beginning a life with a new man, and finding myself in the same position in a few years, constantly starting and ending, never creating anything meaningful, possessing a future. It's like acquiring a pet to me. I adore that young, funny puppy, with his large paws and hairless belly. But as the puppy gets older, you see other pups and think, wow, they make me feel so much. My own dog is no longer as adorable. I'm sorry, but I've fallen out of love with my dog. I'm leaving him and getting a new puppy. Repeat the process. When it comes to dating, I like folks who understand that partnerships are hard work. That commitment is not feeding those sentiments, realizing that puppy love is seductive, but in the end just a phase, and it will also die for that new companion. You are constantly at danger if you spend your life with an eye on the door, wondering what if I could do better. Look for those that are willing to be thankful for what they have. Understand that there are so many individuals with whom they might have amazing ties, but they chose to base their future on that one person. There is only one decent excuse to call it quits on a relationship. You're dissatisfied, it's not working, go. Others have no place in this process. You are selfish if you believe it is okay to leave for another. You are either reluctant to be alone and rely on others as a substitute big jerk move, or you are addicted to puppy love. So ask every one of your dates whether they think it's okay to go since you're in love. They will demonstrate their reasoning. Best wishes. Story 3. So he cheats, lies, and is mad at me. For those who are unaware with my storyline, let me explain. When I was 4 months pregnant with our second child, my 5-year ex-boyfriend unexpectedly dumped me in the middle of nowhere. He is still being a dad. So, in his own words, he abandoned me rather than the children, as he is fond of reminding me. He left one day and never returned, never spoke to me, never opened the door to discuss what we may fix or work on, and although both the kids and I went through the motions, he remained absent from my life. I had no idea what was going on, and neither did my children, ages 11 and 4. My 11-year-old serves as dad to him, and we have a 4-year-old in common. I was absolutely caught by surprise. In the days leading up to his departure, I found that he had been talking to seeing a coworker about whom he had previously urged me not to be concerned. The man continues to deny the presence of a second woman despite the availability of documentation, phone records, and other evidence. To tell the truth, he had an affair with another woman before we broke up, and he is currently having an affair with the other woman. Now fast forward to 6 weeks after he has passed away. The day after learning about his 4-day vacation with her, I call and text him on one of the days he'll be away from home. He claims that he is doing something for himself and that he is not with anybody else, and that this is not true. More dishonesty on the part of the government. While I understand that he would never recognize it and that it shouldn't matter since we are no longer together, why not simply say it? Prior to the trip, he claimed to be depressed and in distress. How did I get into this situation where he was unhappy with me, screaming at me, berating me, and treating me as if I'd done something wrong? As if I were the one who had abandoned, deceived, and lied to my family and friends. What makes you think I've done anything to him? He hasn't gotten back to me since, and it's clear he's made up his mind about what to do. I dislike having the impression that I've done anything incorrectly. After I confronted him and he disputed the allegations, why would he turn the tables on me? Are you enraged at what I've done? I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you could provide any information to help me understand, I would really appreciate it.